So now we are going to go into a little more complicated scenario with where we have, say we're doing 3x squared minus 2x into 6x to the fourth plus 5x cubed plus 3x minus 5. Now here's where you got to be careful. Notice how it goes 3x minus 5. There's no x squared term. Well, I had to have a placeholder, so I put plus 0 x squared, plus sign here for plus 3x. And I'm going to underline it to specify it. And that's the way I got taught years ago. So now you always have to have that, because if that term, if you don't write that in, it throws your whole answer off. You had to have that placeholder there. So that's why I wrote 0x squared and I underlined to specify that. And again, that's how I got taught. So now I got to look at, well, 3x squared, and how many times is 3x squared going to 6x to the fourth? Well, it's going to be 2x squared. All right. Multiply 3x squared with 2x squared is 6x to the fourth. And take the opposite of it. That's, well, makes it 0. Then I'm going to multiply negative 2x with 2x squared. It's going to be negative 4x to the third. Take the opposite of it, positive 5x to the third plus 4x to the third is 9x to the third. And then how many times is 3x squared going to 9x cubed? Well, that's going to have to be 3x. 3x squared times 3x is 9x to the third. So take the opposite. That gives you 0. Negative 2x times 3x is negative 6x squared. And take the opposite, positive. Well, 0x squared plus 6x squared, well, it's just going to stay 6x squared. And how many times is 3x squared going to 6x squared? It goes in twice. So 3x squared times 2 is 6x squared. Subtract them, take the opposite, it's 0. And then negative 2x times 2. Let me just rewrite this part here. We're out of room here, I apologize. So again, negative 2x times 2 is negative 4x. Take the opposite, it's plus. So 3x plus 4x is 7x. Now 3x squared can't go into this. I mean, it can, but then you're going to want to have a negative exponent. And the reason why you can't have that is because polynomials, the exponents are always, their positive integers include 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. So now this stays, and this is also going to come down, the negative 5. So this is our remainder. And once again, what do we do with the remainder? Plus 7x minus 5 over my divisor of 3x squared minus 2x. So this is the solution to this problem. So now let's clear the board here and let's go into the remainder theorem. So suppose I want to find, say I have a polynomial f of x equals 5x cubed plus 6x plus 8. So suppose I want to know, well, what is f of negative 2? Yeah, I could plug and chug and all that. Sure. But if we use the remainder theorem, which requires synthetic division, and I know I didn't mention synthetic division before, but it does relate. So here's what happens. So negative 2 is going to be my divisor. Okay, I set this up. The difference is I'm not going to write this polynomial out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write the coefficient for each term. starting with the highest term, the next highest term, and so on. So for instance, 5, that's my first one. That's x cubed. Now you notice there's no x squared term. Just like with long division polynomials, I have to have a placeholder. So it's going to be 0, so plus 0. Then for the x term, x to the first, same as x, it's 6. And then the constant of 8. And that's it. So now I bring down the 5. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. 0 minus 10 is negative 10. Negative 2 times negative 10 is 20. And 6 plus 20 is 26. And negative 2 times 26 is negative 52. 8 minus 52 is negative 44. So since my remainder is negative 44, that means f of negative 2 is negative 44. But there's also something else about this too. What happens is I can also look at, well, hey, this is the same thing as taking what I have here and dividing it by x plus 2. Because if I were to set x plus 2 equal to 0, x equals negative 2, right, what I have here. So, in other words, if I divide these two, right, I could do long division of polynomials, but since I've already done synthetic division, what happens is this. I have 5, but now instead of 5x cubed, it's 5x squared. Everything drops 1 degree, so 3 goes down to 2. And then what's next? What's the next lowest degree after 2 here? Well, 1. So minus 10x, or x to the first. And then the constant of plus 26, and my remainder. Minus 44, so that's my remainder, over the divisor of x plus 2. And the last thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to clear the board again. We're going to talk about the factors theorem. So suppose I have the equation 2x to the third minus 3x squared minus 11x plus 6 equals 0. Now in this case, they tell us 3 is a 0, right? Which that means, okay, since 3 is a 0, right, they tell us that 3 is a 0. So what that means is this. So I know that's one of the solutions, right? But I want to find the other 0. So I do synthetic division. Since 3 is a 0, I put 3 here. And now I'm going to set it up. So 2 for 2x cubed, the highest 3. Then the x squared term, negative 3. What's the next lowest one? The x term, negative 11. And then the lowest term after that, well, the next lowest term, the lowest one is the constant of 6. So now I bring down the 2. I do 3 times 2 is 6. This goes here. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3. And I do 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 11 plus 9 is negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Aha! I have a remainder of 0. This is very important. Now, yes, that means that when x is 3, this whole equation equals 0. That means, aha, it's a solution to it. But not only that, it also means that, yes, x equals 3 is a solution, but also that x minus 3 goes into this polynomial evenly. Because if I were to take x minus 3 equal to 0 and solve for x, add 3 to both sides, x equals 3, we know that's a 0. So that's 1 0. Well, now I got to find the others. So I have a 2 here. Well, it was x cubed up here. So now it's going to have to drop 1 degree to, well, going from 3 to 2, so 2x squared, and then plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. Now this is just a quadratic equation, so I can try to solve by factoring. So what are two numbers that multiply to negative 4 and add up to 3. Well, let's see. I could have, let's see, 4 and -1. Well, does that work? 4 times -1 is -4. 4 minus 1 is 3. So it does work. So now I'm going to rewrite it over here. 2x squared plus 4x Oops, sorry about that. Plus 4x minus x minus 2 equals 0. So now I'm going to factor by grouping. I have my one group here. And I have my other group right here, which is -x minus 2. So what can I factor out of this group? A 2 and an x. So 2x times x plus 2. And here I can factor out -1. So it'll be -1 times x plus 2. So then this factors out to 2x minus 1 and x plus 2 equals 0. So that means when I set them both equal to 0, x is going to equal 1/2. And x is going to equal -2. So therefore, all the solutions to this third degree polynomial equation are -2, 1/2, and 3. So that's going to do it for today.